You'll never know how I watched you from the shadows as a child. You'll never know how it feels to get so close and be denied. It's a golden honey trap I've got for you tonight. Revenge, it's a kiss. This time I won't miss. Now I've got you in my sight. With a golden eye. It's Goldeneye, 30th anniversary debrief. Coming up next on Least Important Things.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
The world's most famous secret agent is back.
We aim to please.
And this time, 007 is facing the ultimate enemy. The man who knows him best.
Hello, James.
What an unpleasant surprise.
006.
What's the matter? No pithy comeback?
He was your friend, and now he's your enemy and you will kill him.
Is the satellite in range? Target is London.
Now, the entire world is about to be caught in the crossfire.
See you in hell, James.
You first. Kill him.
The pleasure will be all mine.
Did you check her out? Head to toe.
3 clicks, arms the fuse. Don't say it.
The writing's on the wall?
Grow up, 007.
I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur, a relic of the Cold War.
No, James? I was always better.
Both of you, stop it! You're like boys with toys.
Trick is to quit while you're still a kid.
I wouldn't think of it.
Charming, sophisticated secret agent. Shaken but not disturbed.
Get us out of here!
Bond. Only Bond.
Man just won't take a hint.
You don't need the gun.
That depends on your definition of safe sex.
On November 17th, United Artists brings you
Trust me.
James Bond.
Why can't you just be a good boy and die?
That's one trick I've never learned.
Welcome to a podcast called Least Important Things, a show about movies, friendship, and finding meaning in the most important of the least important things. I'm your host, Luke Ferris. In today's episode, yes, we are celebrating 30 years since the release of Pierce Brosnan's debut as James Bond 007 in Goldeneye. Joining me today to talk about our first Bond rewatch. This has been a long time coming. It is my 001 and 002 coming live from the field, Mike, Wynne, and Zach Hall. Gentlemen, thank you for being here on our first ever Bond rewatch. Welcome, gentlemen.
Oh, so happy.
Yeah, this is great. You never invite me to the good ones, so thank you.
I know.
How come we didn't wait to do like Quantum of Solace?
I know. just to start out with Quantum. We could have done that. We could have done Die Another Day, Zach. But we wanted to give you the best. We've really forced you to do a lot of terrible sequels, and this is a pretty good one, I do have to say. But before we get into the mission today, I want to share, whether it's your first time listening or watching, or you've been a friend of the show for a long time, thank you. Thanks for being here. So please remember to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast or on YouTube, so you don't miss an episode coming out every Tuesday. You can connect with the show at leastimportantthings.com. Email us at leastimportantthings@gmail.com. TikTok at leastimportantthings. And you can connect with me on Instagram at Luke H. Ferris or on Letterboxd at Luke H. Ferris. We have a Patreon where you can become a free member to receive email alerts when a new episode is released, video updates, exclusive conversations, and additional information about the episode for the same price as a cup of coffee or tea, high tea, or maybe a glass of whiskey in M's office. Maybe not. That's probably pretty expensive whiskey. You can become a friend of the show and get a Least Important Things sticker, exclusive content, and more special surprises to come. Supporting the show helps us make more episodes. So visit patreon.com/leastimportantthings to learn more. I just sent out our first thank you notes to our friends of the show. So if you want to get a thank you note from me, a sticker, support us, become a friend of the show. I worked really hard on my handwriting for that, by the way. It was I just want to let you both of you guys know that I was very meticulously trying to not write like I'm a 5-year-old, and I think it was pretty successful. So shout out to our early friends of the show. Also, just become a free member of our Patreon. Why? Of course, all the reasons I explained, but most importantly, Mike Wynne has committed himself that if we have 40 subscribers on our Patreon.
I thought that was paid subscribers.
No. It was never implied. It could be paid. It's a combination. Paid and free Patreon members.
Well, I have to immediately unsubscribe.
Where's the mute button? We will
Just starts
rewatch.
texting people on the side like,
Yes.
please unsubscribe. Please unsubscribe.
We will start watching, and we will rewatch the Twilight movie, and Mike will be on that episode, including multiple panelists. So we will be covering Twilight if we get 40 plus Patreon members, free or paid. So please become a member on Patreon so we can watch Twilight and make more importantly, make Mike watch Twilight and talk about it. As you know, this is an indie. He relents. As you know, this is an indie podcast, and the best way you can help the show is by recommending it to somebody. So please, when you're in a briefing, maybe with fellow agents, or sipping bubbly and eating caviar with your lover, just recommend Least Important Things as a podcast. All right, gentlemen, before we get into our discussion about Goldeneye, as you know, we have an advertiser for each of our rewatches. And we got a big one. We got a big organization here. We like to get indie vendors, but also big corporate organizations as well. And this episode is sponsored by Universal Exports. If you need help importing and or exporting generic goods from one generic place to another generic place, Universal Exports can help. Located in a seemingly nondescript London office, our export specialists are ready to travel anywhere abroad to set up a one-on-one meeting. They will help you review your export items, drink your liquor, head on your assistant, and then sneak back into your office in the middle of the night to steal important documents. Partner with Universal Exports today for your next international transaction. You can trust us. That is Universal Exports. I don't know what they do, but they seem trustworthy, and they don't seem like a front for an intelligence agency. All right, gentlemen, we're going to get into this movie Goldeneye. I first want to start with the back of the VHS. So this is the segment where we talk about what this movie is about. We read the back of the VHS. It's like being at a video store. You're walking through the aisles and you see this image of this gorgeous Northern Irishman holding a firearm and having two beautiful women with explosions, and it says Goldeneye. And you're like, huh, is this a James Bond movie? I don't know, because it doesn't say James Bond. It says 007. Maybe, I don't know. So you flip the back and you read it. Mike, could you read the description of said VHS?
All right, back of the VHS for the Goldeneye VHS.
Can you do it in a British accent, please?
No.
Russian?
James Bond is back in an adventure which is bigger, better, and more explosive than ever before. It's packed with incredible stunts, glamorous locations, beautiful women, and fast cars. Bond has a dangerous new enemy to face in his latest mission. Aided by the Russian underworld, his treacherous foe has stolen a top-secret helicopter and the lethal Soviet space weapon, Goldeneye, with which he plans to obliterate the Western world. Only Bond can prevent the destruction in this heart-stopping race, which will leave you shaken and stirred.
Ooh. That is the back of the VHS. We'll get into more details. I did want to shout out, I actually
I could never.
I have actually the World Is Not Enough VHS. I was looking for the Goldeneye VHS.
Yeah.
My family does have a copy of the Goldeneye VHS, but I have one of the World Is Not Enough. And man, if you can get a copy of this era VHS of James Bond, it is beautiful. It is an experience, and as Mike just beautifully read, you know what you're getting into. This film was produced by Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. I almost said broccoli, like chopping broccoli. Cubby Broccoli passed away a year later. This was truly Babs' first solo outing as the producer of Bond. And the reason why I'm saying that so colloquially is that this is a family property. It sounds really strange. This is like a family business. The Broccoli's had been producing the Bond movies since the 60s, and this was the first passing off of that producing role. It's a very unique property where a family member, a small group of people are so integral in preserving the legacy of this franchise and character. Now this has changed because they sold the creative rights and control of Bond to Amazon most recently, but we're not going to get into that with Goldeneye. We might talk about it later, but just an important reminder as we talk about Goldeneye's legacy, 30 years, this was also Barbara Broccoli's first real foray into being the head of this property. It was directed by Martin Campbell. Previously, he did a lot of TV in Europe, No Escape, and went to do The Mask of Zorro, Vertical Limit, Casino Royale, and the infamous Green Lantern. So one of my favorite directors. I mean, he's created a lot of important media in my life. Zach, I know you feel resonance for Martin Campbell.
Yeah, it's mainly Mask of Zorro, and I feel like anything with flames on the cover I enjoy.
Yes.
Mission Impossible 2, Mask of Zorro, Goldeneye. He might be my underdog director now that I've actually watched a decent amount of his work as of this episode. So yeah, I'm just happy to have someone that also comes back later and does Casino Royale is somebody that you're in good hands with when you're watching a movie like this. So yeah, really cool to have an unknown like Martin Campbell, who's always just been there doing cool stuff.
It's really interesting because we think about the Bond franchise the last 20 years. There's been a lot of auteur directors that have been part of, or auteur creators that have been part of the strategy the last 4 or 5 films. But traditionally, the Bond movies are not big-name directors. They're journeymen. A lot of times it's people who had worked on previous films as a producer or a cinematographer get jobs, and sometimes there's multiple films that each director gets. Martin Campbell's kind of the last of that, and it was interesting because he did Goldeneye and then came back for Casino Royale. So he's a really unique director in this franchise where he both launched 2 different Bonds or characters of the Bonds. He launched the Brosnan Bond and the Craig Bond, and I think they're both different movies, different eras, but his touch, his detail for the character, and I think his vision has to be one of the best Bond directors, if not the best, in my opinion, because of his ability to launch 2 characters. So, but Martin Campbell, very underrated director. I think the Green Lantern almost ruined his career.
Yeah,
he didn't get the bounce back that some people got from that movie. So, as much as I love Ryan Reynolds, but Martin Campbell, I think, was not able to bounce back the way Deadpool has.
It really did hurt him. I'm looking at post Green Lantern, and that it just really fell off. That's such a bummer. Yeah, there's a lot of potential there to keep going, but he's in his 80s now, so I think
he should come back. Come on, let's get Roman back. I need one more.
Okay, let's ask him.
He could launch the next Bond.
He could. He's still alive. He still can do it. This movie was written by, typical of Bond, a lot of people. It is a written by committee franchise with heavy influence from the Broccoli's and Michael G. Wilson. A couple of the writers here are Michael France, who did Cliffhanger, The Punisher, Fantastic Four, Jeffrey Kane, The Constant Gardener, Gods and Kings, and Bruce Fierstein, who did Tomorrow Never Dies and The World Is Not Enough. So he continued on with the Brosnans. Cinematography by Phil Mayhew, who did The Saint, The Bicentennial Man, Entrapment, the Zorro movies, Casino Royale, Beverly Hills Chihuahua. So he went on interesting. Much like Campbell,
he's actually got a lot of animated credits.
He does. That was. I just had to shout out Beverly Hills Chihuahua because it's wow, The Saint, Bicentennial Man, Entrapment, the Zorro movies, Casino Royale, and Goldeneye. Wow, and Beverly Hills Chihuahua. So
yeah.
But he again captures that 90s, early 2000s, I would say, as Zach describes, flames type of movies, Mask of Zorro, and most importantly, spent a lot of time with Catherine Zeta-Jones. So he's had a good life. Music by Eric Serra, who also did Leon the Professional before this, and then went on to do The Fifth Element, one of Zach's favorite movies. And we'll talk about the music later.
Is that Michael Serra's dad?
No. No, I don't believe so.
Different spelling.
Different spelling. This film is starring, as we mentioned, Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, Sean Bean as Alec Trevelyan, Isabel Scoruppo as Natalia Simonova.
Simonova.
Wow. Really
How about
nailed that.
How about just Simonova?
Natalia Simonova. Famke Johnson as Xena Onatopp. I got that one. Joe Don Baker as Jack Wade. Judi Dench. Dame Judi Dench.
Yeah, thank you. Put some respect on her name.
Yes, yes. Robbie Coltrane as Valentin Zuveski. Is that how you pronounce it?
Zukovsky.
Keep going, Luke. Let's see how you do
Zukovsky.
the rest of
Let's
these.
see how we go. Alan Cumming as Boris Greshka.
Oh my God! He says it so many times.
The confidence is leaking just as we go.
He
I got this
practiced
one.
these an
I got
hour
this.
ago.
I got this one. Desmond Llewellyn as Q.
I thought you were gonna say P.
Samantha Bond as Moneypenny, and Simon Kuntz, who is Martin from The Parent Trap, as Zervinia duty officer. I don't know if you guys caught that. For friends of our Parent Traps episode, Martin is in this film. A little British playing a Russian.
First of all,
British-Russian crossover. Oh, dear God. Okay.
Wow, dude.
Let's move on to some facts that you can fact check. I'm not going to do the work for you. Mike's already fact checking my Russian
I
pronunciation.
already fact checked one. I know one's wrong in here.
Shout out to Logan Matthews and his partner. I apologize. She teaches Russian literature at a collegiate level. So I'm sorry if you're listening, Laura. Goldeneye was released on November 13th, 1995 in the United States. That weekend, friends, you could have seen, this is a great lineup, gentlemen, Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, Get Shorty, The American President, Home for the Holidays, and It Takes Two, the Mary-Kate and Ashley movie. Later that month, in that month of November 1995, you could have also seen Casino and Toy Story. Wow. What a month. What a month.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Casino, Toy Story, and Goldeneye are the only good movies that you went through there.
Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls?
No, the sequel is not good.
Wow. Harsh there. It's gonna be tough when we do our Ace Ventura
rewatch. Yeah, we'll get Zach for that.
Well,
for that one.
When Nature Calls. Goldeneye had a budget of $60 million, which honestly seems very small in today's modern budget, and it made just over $106 million worldwide. This was the most successful James Bond movie since Moonraker in 1979, and this is a critical data point. The Dalton Bonds really struggled at the box office. The tone was off. And they were also in a legal battle, which we haven't mentioned yet. That's why there was this big gap, 6 years gap between Bond movies. It was tied with the largest gap between the two Craigs, Spectre and No Time to Die, but there was COVID in between there. But there was legal battles for 6 years, which really, and plus the box office performance of Dalton really slowed the appetite for Bond. And that's why this movie relaunching Bond, essentially creating almost a new character with a new actor, was critical. They needed this to hit, and it did, which is pretty exciting. It was filmed in London, Russia, Monaco, and Puerto Rico. Brosnan has been on the short list.
Hold on, we gotta go back. There wasn't any filming in Russia.
Well, Russia. They did film in Russia, didn't they?
They did second unit stuff in Russia.
They did second unit, yes, and it was one of the first movies filmed in New Russia post.
Yeah.
Was the second unit just the graveyard of Stalin stuff? Was that it?
Yeah, that definitely was real.
It was like St. Petersburg.
Okay. Yeah, shooting St. Petersburg. That makes sense.
But a lot of the scenes that claim to be Russia are just Eastern European or Switzerland.
Yes.
Okay.
But still, I think a monumental, marker in movie history to be back.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground, Hollywood in Russia.
Anyway, I did the fact checking. So you didn't do it for me. I did it.
Yeah, you did it. Thank you, and I appreciate that. When we think about now, we're in the desert of we don't know who the next Bond is. We don't know who's going to be that iconic role. And prior, even to before Dalton was casted, Brosnan was on the short list, but he had an issue with the contract with his TV show Remington Steele, which was really popular in the UK. So Brosnan had been on the board for a long time. Actually, prior when he was younger, so in his early 30s, He's coming in, and they finally got him at, I think, 40, 41. So he's a little bit older than, and typically Bonds get casted in their mid to late 30s. So it's not crazy old, but they've been looking at him for a long time. So it was a big deal that Brosnan finally was on the hook.
Was that also delayed so that they could get the chest hair at the perfect length as well?
Yeah.
Was that mainly it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The sternum bush
notably-
needed to be really groomed and
Got it.
elevated. He needed to get more time living in Hawaii and just really let that moisture let it grow and flourish.
Let those roots just really take it and then allow to
Yes,
reach
that
for
ocean
the
air.
sunlight. Yep.
Yes. Computer graphics were used to create the famous gun barrel opening, making this the first James Bond to use CGI.
Is this just the opening one where he walks across screen and shoots straight towards?
Yes, that is correct. That is the gun. That is AKA the gun barrel sequence.
That is crazy. That is like, it's such a simple thing to make. It is literally just a still image moving, and
It's
but they had to
very
build
simple,
it.
but it was a big deal. They were like, "We're gonna spend." I'm worried about how much that actually cost out of the budget. That was like $3 million just to say they were the first James Bond movie to use CGI.
That's crazy.
Again, this shows that we are in this era, smack dab in the 90s, of transitioning from traditional filmmaking to computer-generated filmmaking for big-budget action movies, and I think that's why this is a precipice right before. It's post-Jurassic Park by a couple years, but it's really starting to change in Hollywood. The Tina Turner song, Goldeneye, as I was... I didn't sing, but I read the lyrics, was written by Bono and The Edge of U2, which I love U2, but those lyrics, not their best. But I do like that song, and I think it is a wise choice that this isn't U2 playing that song, and they decided to go with someone who had the vocal range to really bring bravado to the song. But fun fact.
It needed bravado.
It's,
now I got you in my sight with the golden eyes, like the word.
Yes, also the big one is how I've watched you from the shadows as a child. Like, I don't know what's going. Whose perspective is it's we don't know.
It's from Bono's.
It's from Bono's perspective. Yeah, it is. He's been watching James Bond since a child.
Talking to the Edge.
Yes.
Yeah. Talking to the Edge.
I do have to say, YouTube, not a great track record for pop culture adaptations. Most famously, Spider-Man, Turn Out the Lights, or Turn Out the Dark. What is it called?
Yeah,
Turn Out the
Turn
Lights.
Off the Dark, I think.
Turn Off the Dark. This movie, we're going to talk about later, but features the highest bungee jump from a structure in a movie, jumping on the dam in the opening shot. The drop is over 722 feet. Crazy. The man who did the jump actually got a cameo as the Tiger pilot, shot by Xena on the top. So that was kudos to that stunt performer. This is the first completely original James Bond movie without any references to an Ian Fleming novel or short story. The name comes from the actual estate that Ian Fleming had in Jamaica, Goldeneye, where he wrote a lot of the books, and now is actually... You can go there. It's a big resort, and you can go to see his writing desk and his actual small cottage that he lived in. Ralph Fiennes auditioned for James Bond. They would be very interesting to have him be James Bond. Of course, he comes back later, replacing Dame Judi Dench as M.
Yeah.
Zach, this one's for you. John Woo turned down chance to direct this movie. He said he was honored by the offer. Can you imagine, sliding doors moment, that John Woo does this movie instead of Mission Impossible 2? Well, instead of Face Off. When was Face Off?
Yeah.
96.
96. Yeah, maybe 97. We just did this. Okay.
Yes, we should know.
Yeah, it's very soon after this movie comes out. That would probably kill one franchise and bring one to like prominence. Like, honestly, Mission Impossible 2 wouldn't be nearly as good as it is today if he hadn't done. Or
Yes.
Mission Impossible series would.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He would have killed the Bond franchise, and the Mission franchise also would have probably struggled.
So how come the Bond franchise didn't die after?
No, the
this
Bond
then?
franchise is dead, guys. It's not that dead. That's what I'm trying to say.
They need
Bond
to bring Wu
franchise
back.
Nowhere near
They need to bring Wu back.
Yeah, they need him.
This
they
movie
need him
does
for
have
this next
some.
one.
It is kind of wooey.
It is Wu. We
It's
are
Wu.
in peak Wu influence era. I mean, we're in 90s action. So there's some. Actually, when I think about it, Wu and Bond are a very nice pairing, and I'm surprised it didn't happen, to be honest. But it almost is too much. Like, it's too much of that goodness. I think would be oversaturated.
Yeah, that just like Mission Impossible 2.
Man, now I can't get out.
You could argue that. Can you imagine James Bond turning or gun barrel, as we just talked about, gun barrel as he turns, doves fly.
I did. There was a Dove Watch. I did have the Dove Watch flag up for this.
It
but-
was. It was a 0. Could we do a mini Dove Watch?
We can. I might do a speed run again just to double check my work
Double
on
check.
that.
I was keeping an eye out as well. I didn't see a dove.
Yeah. There were sparks. There were a lot
Lots
of
of sparks. So we again, notes of Wu. Minnie Driver, I don't know if you
Yes.
noticed her, earned just
Yep.
about $5,000 in her role as the inept singer who performed "Stand by Your Man" in Robbie Coltrane's club. Just an insane cameo to have.
I still have that song in my head today, and the scene started, and I was like, "Oh, it's gonna go into a really bad key of Stand by Your Man." Oh my god, I can't wait for this. And yeah,
her iteration is a bit of an earworm. It really sticks in your head.
Yeah, it's sticks on your head for years to come. I think her name was Arena, and that.
Yes.
Arena, you're done.
You're done.
Zukovsky. Yeah.
Yes, Robbie Coltrane, which we'll talk about later. All right, that's facts that you can fact check. I'm not going to do the work for you. Before we get into OTs, we're going to do a beloved segment. It's the Bri Paradox. Now, if you didn't know this is friend of the show, Bri Warson. This is the moment where she looks up from her Kindle while she's watching the movie with her partner, Andy Warson. So this is really, did you watch this with a partner or a friend, and did they not care, were paying attention, were on their phone, were on their Kindle, or just were shocked? What was the moment where they were like, that's impossible, that's crazy? Mike, I believe, friend of the show, Shannon, did watch this movie with you. Did she have a Bri Paradox moment?
I mean, no.
No. She was like, I'm in. This is 100%. I believe every moment of this movie is perfect.
She did say something like she thinks this is way more fun than the Daniel Craig movies. Like the Craig movies, the Craig movies are too stuffy. There's too much plot building going on.
I understand that. Yeah.
And,
this is like, you really don't need, the plot doesn't really matter. It's about the characters.
And something that I kind of shared in response to this was, I do feel like there's way too much dialogue in the Craig movies compared to like this movie, where you have, which is interesting, right? Because Craig, not a very established actor before the Bond franchise. I mean, like he was, like he's a working actor.
Tomb Raider would argue
but
his accent in Tomb Raider. I mean, come on.
But what I mean is, Brosnan.
Laura.
Brosnan is a pretty well-established actor by the time he gets the Bond.
That's right.
Franchise, but they don't lean on his speaking, right? It's just So it is just interesting. I mean, in Casino Royale, you can make the same case that Kendall Craig isn't asked to talk a whole lot, but
right. Later on in the movies, when the world building of the Craig era, which I don't really enjoy, it does get a little bit plot heavy, exposition heavy.
Yeah.
Whereas this one is pretty tight, pretty lean, and we love a lean, mean action movie here on Least Important Things. All right, let's move on to OT's overall thoughts. Gentlemen, I want to first talk about your walk with Bond. Zach, what's your experience with the franchise 007? Because this is a unique franchise. It's been one of the longest running franchises of all time in movie history. And it's a lot of times it's passed down from generation to generation. But Zach, what is your walk with Bond?
Yeah, I would say.
How long have you been walking with Bond?
How long have I been walking with Bond? I'd say since I've been walking with Bond since I was about 12, actually. So this Bond wasn't passed down to me. I think there are, like, Goldeneye was a family movie that we watched as a bunch of us when I was probably 10. But really, I kind of had to pursue my own walk with Bond across the beach on my own. So. Yes. Back in the day, there used to be a Bond picture show. They played on ABC. They had 13 movies. It was one Saturday each week. Play, and I was a big fan of all those. I think I watched all of them, and then they kind of stopped because they were going in. That's right before really syndication started taking Bond movies and just doing marathons. That was before like most traditional cable TV was starting to fall off, and they would just play marathons of movies, right? So I tuned in at, I think it was 8 p.m. on Saturday nights because I was 12 and didn't have friends, and I would watch those. From Dr. No, I think all the way to Moonraker, maybe a little bit more than that. I can't remember, but that was what influenced it, because I think before that I always thought of Bond as a cartoony thing. Right. And only had really introduction of like with Goldeneye and probably Tomorrow Never Dies, I'd say. Yep. Had watched both of those in the 90s and was very familiar with them. Also, I mean, actually, and then I did I have an N64 yet? So no, I didn't even have a video game system yet. So that eventually I would be able to learn more about Bond once I got an N64. But that's essentially that first stage. And then since then, I tune in. I'm a little bit behind on that stuff. But I still remember those first 13 movies and watching those in sequence. It was pretty great.
That's a great memory to have. And I do have to say, you did have friends, you just hadn't met them yet. They were also watching James Bond movies alone because they did have friends. So that we were friends, we just hadn't met each other yet.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. In my dreams, I knew that you guys were out there. So.
Yes. Mike, what's your walk with Bond?
Yeah, I got into Bond probably when I was 9 or 10, and it was the whole like walking through the Bond section at the movie store. Good old Mammoth Video.
Ooh, shout out to Mammoth Video.
And I mean, like, I had known about Bond before that because I think the first Bond film I ever saw was Goldeneye.
Yeah.
And I had an N64, so like I had rented the game or played the game before, so I was familiar. I just hadn't really I hadn't gotten into the rest of the movies until I was like 9 or 10. Probably because my parents were like, "There's a lot of sex in these movies," and probably don't want you renting them.
But even the N64 game, sorry, Mike, but even the N64 game has Xenia's like moan in it. No, he's like,
oh, the moan.
Yeah, when you hit her with a gun, it's sexual. It's also sexual. So
yeah, I guess I didn't. 8 years old, don't really know what a moan is. So wasn't really thinking.
Thought it was just
wow,
a noise.
Got really high pitched voice. Yeah,
all moans stack up to that one now for me. So.
That's high. It's a high moan.
Yeah.
Standard.
Yeah. It's a mix of. It's like how they made Raptors, except it's just like a mix of.
It's just a keyboard. It's like
keyboard
of like whale sounds.
Yeah.
Through like a very complex
isn't
synthesizer.
It just the first? It's one of the notes of the "Staying Alive" song, isn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, Mike. I just needed to know if.
No, it's okay. But yeah, so I mean, that's my Bond edge to Bond.
Yes.
Do you still watch them religiously? That's not something I do, but is that something that you keep up with each of them as they come out?
Yeah, I keep up with them as they come out. Like I see them opening day in the theater. Cool. I own all of them except for the most recent 2, just because I haven't gotten around to buying them. Luke will remember when we were roommates in college. A Black Friday deal popped up, and I was able to, for the 50th anniversary of Bond, I was able to buy them all as a box set of Blu-rays.
great.
So I own all of them.
I've never been more jealous of a human being than that day, especially because you got them at a good price, and I just was floored.
And they came in like these commemorative like books, and I should have brought it up to show, but like if you can, theater of the mind here, podcast friends, the each movie was in a sleeve, right? And you turn the page, and it's progressive. But then next to each disc in its sleeve was the Bond girl.
Ooh.
So so it was like that's how they kind of advertise, like this isn't the title of the movie, this is the Bond girl. That tells you what the movie
is. They know their target market. Like they're like, okay, I know who that is, and that's that movie, and that's what I put in. I'm trying to remember, I believe, because we were so excited about having that box set in our dorm rooms, I believe we had a double date feature.
No, it wasn't a double. Was it a double date? I think it was just me, you, and Audrey, or me and Justin, and then you and Audrey.
Yes. It was a double date. It was a double
supervised date.
It was a double date with Justin.
It was Goldfinger. We decided to watch
show.
Goldfinger.
Yes, which was. Audrey knew what she was getting into. Let's just say that, folks. It was no surprise the level of nerdiness.
Me and Justin were extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, because you didn't know Audrey as well, but it was like, whoa, this is not aged well.
I think the moment the four of us acknowledged like how ridiculous it was at one point. We were like,
yeah.
Wow, this is like really bad.
Yeah. I think it was like when because Sean Connery does hit women multiple times throughout his films, and I think once one of those happened, we were like, "We got to address this. This is pretty bad. It's pretty bad." Well, that's your bondage to Bond. Mine is very similar. I'll keep it short. Grew up with them. My dad loved them as a kid, so we would watch them. Similar to Zach, it was on television, so we would always, whether we were watching golf or football, it would always be kind of like switching back and forth from the Bonds. So I really saw the TV edit versions of the Bonds. And friends of the show know a lot of my cinema history is TV edits of movies. So I saw mostly TV edit versions, and then of course once those marathons started, it was just constant. And then in high school started buying them or renting them and watching them, because you only get snippets, right?
Yeah.
You're just watching TV versions, and I wasn't as disciplined as Zach to watch them in sequential order. So when I got older, I started really watching them like their actual full movies, renting the DVDs, watching them with friends, and it's just continued. I always say Bond is my guilty pleasure because, as we just mentioned, I feel a little guilty watching the older ones, but it is they are movies that I will constantly put on. They are comfort watches. I'll just have them in the background. It's one of my favorite series. I think a lot of it has to do with things we'll talk about, which is obviously the different eras that you get, the outfits, the corporate partnerships, the suaveness, the music, the characterization, and most importantly, the formula. I think the formula of Bond movies provides a lot of comfort to me that I continue to go back to as I get older, even though some of them are highly questionable. But typically, like Shannon said, they're a lot of fun, and the ones that are a lot of fun sometimes are not the best films, and I think that's what makes this franchise unique. Okay, two other OTs I want to talk about. One is the Brosnan perspective. I want to get your thoughts on his debut in this movie, and just when we look back 30 years later, how we look on Pierce Brosnan as a Bond overall. Zach, what is your view of Brosnan? Because to me, he is the millennial Bond, 90s Bond for us growing up. Some would say Craig is really the millennial Bond, but we grew up with Brosnan if you started watching this at a young age. But what is your perspective? How do you view Brosnan and the lore of Bond overall?
I feel like Brosnan, you're talking about how old he is in this. He's in his 40s, but I started off with Brosnan. He's pretty much the model that I think of with Bond, at least on screen. And after having watched and been introduced to Bond through Brosnan, and then watching back those initial 13 movies with, like Dr. No and all that stuff, they seem old. This Brosnan seems like current and always feels like he was at the best time. It was the best timing for him to be Bond. And I think that it not just like in look and feel and delivery, but also in how he fits into a very 90s world. It's not like he's not the most energetic of the Bonds, I would say. He does he runs straight. Like, it's not like, I mean, all the Bonds do, right? But like, there's not a lot of, he does his blocking well, and he knows how to just like load a gun and shoot it with blanks. Like, you can tell that's very 90s. Like, there's not a lot of emotion to the actual action part to it. I love how they introduce him in this movie, and it's not, I don't know, I haven't watched enough Bonds to like be able to put up initial introductions of Bonds. I know that some Bonds, they just pretend like he was always this Bond, you know, like, but this, they really do an unveiling of him as he's like jumps down and rappels down and uses a gadget, and they don't really show him until in the bathroom stall. Like, you see before that, you see a silhouette, you see him use a gadget, you see him use a laser gadget, you see his eyes in like a very like highlighted way. It's like, this is the elements of this man that you're seeing. A good natural stature, piercing Pierce Brosnan eyes, and this is what you can expect in this movie and probably in his tenure here. And I think that's always stood with me, is like, this is the elements of Bond. I think in general, he is my, like, not my favorite Bond, but he's the Bond that I think of when I hear the word James Bond.
Mike, what about you? What's your Brosnan retrospective?
Yeah, I mean, he's my generation's James Bond. I think I always loved him as a Bond. I think he was underappreciated during his time as James Bond. It wasn't, of course, until we got Quantum of Solace that we were like, oh my gosh, those Pierce Brosnan James Bonds were so good. I think, to me, he's the second best Bond of all the Bonds that we've had, and I recognize I may be biased because he was my gateway Bond, if you will.
Yes. They use IBM in this movie, but I get it.
And a BMW.
Yes,
we can get into that later.
We'll get into that later. I agree with both of you. He still is the tall, dark, and handsome Bond. I think he is the best of Sean Connery, the best of Roger Moore, and the best of Timothy Dalton. It's almost like if you could formulate those three versions of Bond, he is the evolution of all those. Mm-hmm. I think because of what came after with Craig, I do think he gets lost. And this movie specifically, we wouldn't have had a Craig era without this movie. I think this movie keeps the franchise alive, brings it back, brings a new energy, and you have somebody as charismatic as Brosnan, who is undeniably one of the most handsome people in all of Hollywood, who has an eternal beauty, eternal charisma on camera that has lasted. Obviously, he's still making big movies and TV shows today. He is a highly sought-after actor today, well into his later years, his twilight years. And I think that's what always reminds me of how this moment, that introduction, he's never looked better. He looks incredible. He does throughout all the movies, but this movie, he brings that energy, and he also is not trying too hard. I like to look at his first line reading of Bond, James Bond. He's not trying. He's not making it suave. He's just saying the line. And I really appreciate about them. He comes in with the humility, and he actually has talked about how nervous he was and how much he thought about that first line reading of Bond, James Bond, and how he just wanted to play it streamlined, like right in the middle of the road. He didn't want it to be too high or too low. And I think that's who Brosnan is. I think the one thing about his legacy, when I look at Goldeneye, he had a great director, great team, great story. I think with the sequels, his sequels after this, they were all a little bit, they're like almost there.
Yeah.
I think I Love Tomorrow Never Dies. I think it's right there. I think the villain is endearing in a fun way, but it's not the best villain plot. There's obviously some amazing action sequences that are some of my favorite in the Bond franchise, but there's just it doesn't have the bite. The world is not enough. You have Christmas Jones' character that really takes away from that movie. Otherwise, I think it's a really strong movie. And then you have Die Another Day, which is, for what it is, it's
Face Off.
It's Face Off. It's one of the most absurd Bond movies of all time.
Yeah.
And so I think he was so close to almost having that level of Craig. I think he was just maybe not too early, but if he had maybe it been a different time in cinema where he got a prestige director like Daniel Craig was able to get in his subsequent films and later films, I think we would have a very different view overall. But this is a Brosnan podcast. We love Brosnan. And part of the legacy of this movie is not only the film, Brosnan, it is the video game. Let's talk about the video game. We've mentioned to it. One of the most popular video games of all time, N64 game. Zach is doing the chop.
My slappers are on. Yeah, only
he's doing
slappers.
The chop. I was at my co-working space today and talking about that we were going to cover Goldeneye, and someone, shout out to Bob, immediately started doing the Goldeneye chop from the video game.
I'm glad we all do that. Yeah, no slap, only slappers. Yeah.
Gentlemen, what's your experience with this video game? Now, I didn't really have a game system, I got an N64 probably in 2004, but I still remember like going over to like older cousins and friends' houses, and they had the game, and it was just such an event. It was a little bit before like my video game time, but it was one of the biggest cultural movements, video game movements of all time, that its legacy is actually bigger than this film. But did you guys have memories of playing this game, of experiencing the Goldeneye mania?
Yeah, what about you, Mike, first?
Yeah, I mean, I played this game endlessly. I mean, this was... I think this is one of the games in... what am I trying to say? One of the games in video game history that goes down as changing multiplayer forever. The campaign was fun because it was basically a scene for scene, like walkthrough of the movie. So if you're familiar with the movie, it was fun to play the movie. But this game is remembered because of the multiplayer.
And like multiplayer is when you have multiple people playing on one screen and different characters. For non-video game
thanks
people.
Thanks for coming to the podcast, Luke. We appreciate you joining.
Especially back then, because there was no like online multiplayer, so it was
no
on one screen.
Yeah, this is like the birth of LAN parties too, except without actually having a LAN connection between consoles.
Just a maximum of 4 very small boxes on a screen. If you had a really small screen,
on a tube TV,
on a Zenith, a white Zenith.
Yep.
Just buzzing.
And it was like that's what that was. I don't know how to describe it. Like if you were there, you would know. If you were there, you would know. And for those who weren't there, I'm sorry because what you have today isn't as good as what we had. I do want to say something else about Pierce Brosnan and how because it relates to the video game, right? So obviously the 007 game was revolutionary and like prolonged and increased the popularity of this movie tenfold, 20-fold, however you want to describe it. But I think why Pierce Brosnan is so fondly remembered too is because he is, during the video game boom, the James Bond of all the video games, right?
Yeah.
So of the 90s and the early 2000s, like if you bought Agent Under Fire, if you bought
which I played that game, really great game. The Bond video games are one of the stronger when we think about movie to video games. Right. There's not a lot of good adaptations, and the Bond games are all pretty strong. Continue, Mike.
Yeah, no, exactly right, and that's why, that's why he is, whatever his movies lack, the memories that we have of him as the Bond of the video games just fills in every gap, and that's never something we would get with any of the previous Bonds because they didn't have video games to accompany their movies, and it's not something we get with Daniel Craig because he's a stick figure. So the
harsh.
It's okay.
Oof.
It's okay. But yeah, so the GoldenEye video game is exactly what kind of kicked that all off, right? If the GoldenEye video game isn't successful,
Halo doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Call of Duty, all those games they would look different.
And of course, greatest video game soundtrack of all time.
It's so good, and that's what people know. They really know the score because of the video game. It's that synth score that is so unique, and you can hear it in the movie when you rewatch it and you start thinking of the video game, which it's like this. It folds on itself. Zach, were you gonna chime in about your experience?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, agreed. I think I even like the soundtrack more on the video game than I did in the movie. It just sounds more synthesized for gaming.
Right, it adds that filter of this is a video game.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting comparing the movie to the game because I actually played a lot of the campaign mode. Because when I did play with my brother, I would camp in one of the vents on some of the levels and just shoot with the AK-47 through there and make him really mad. Really mad, so we stopped playing.
As brothers do.
Yeah, but I mean, for the multiplayer side, there was also really cool like cheats and stuff like that. You could get big heads. That was always fun and a bigger target, and was goofy. You know, you can get like special guns and stuff like that. That was one of those games where if you put in the code right, then you could get some cool Easter egg bonuses. And I really did.
You could get the golden gun, right? You could get the golden gun, which is a callback in the franchise. It's not just specifically this movie where you could get the golden gun from Man with the Golden Gun. And that was a one-shot kill, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. And I mean, you can make everybody really small, like odd job size small, or like. Yeah. There was also Odd Job. Knick-Knack. Yeah, those guys were in the game too, and it was really cool to have them as options in the multiplayer. I think there's a little cognitive dissonance still on the campaign because there are levels that you don't like. Bond is not on the ground by the satellite station, but in the game he is. Stuff like that, where it's like, oh, that's interesting. I don't remember it like that. Like, or like the big. When the Tiger helicopter gets taken, he doesn't make it to the boat. He tries to get to the boat and he gets stopped. But there's an entire level about trying to get to that Tiger helicopter before Xenia does. So there's some stuff there where it's like trying to fill in some interesting gaps and make it a playable mission. But then there's some stuff that's exactly one-to-one awesome, like. The Stalin Graveyard is like one of those pieces that is still in the game, and really just enriches my memory of that. And like Xenia as like a boss level after the helicopter crashes, and you get a little bit more time with Xenia rather than just her getting smashed up against the tree in the movies. So it does expand the world a lot. As the oldest of three, who was really much more of the gamer. Compared to the other two, like it was really one of those games that I would play hours on and really like study and know the levels and stuff like that. To the disdain of my brother, who would be like, "I don't know where you are. Why do you keep shooting me? Stop shooting me! Stop shooting me! Stop it! Stop! It's 21-0, Zach. I can't." Yeah.
That is true millennial bullying right there.
Yeah.
You're just like, let me just destroy you on a video game because I spent hours playing campaign mode.
Exactly. So
something else about Brosnan and video games too. I mean, this is just going back to the Brosnan perspective thing, but it's we're talking about the video game for this movie, but Brosnan only had 4 Bond movies, but he essentially had like. I mean, when you consider the video games, there's 4 like video game movies
that are additional stories.
Aren't
2 or 3 of them are additional stories. So it's almost like
Agent Under Fire, Nightfire, Everything or Nothing. Like these are essentially Bond movies that didn't make the cut to become movies, but were good enough to be developed into games. And he is the main character. He is the Bond of all of those. And so he probably has, other than Connery, the most content of him as Bond, and most of it's really good.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Almost his video games and his lore, the lore of his video games are make him a better Bond or a bigger Bond than just the movies, which I think is fascinating from a legacy standpoint. Yeah, I don't have as much experience playing that video game. I was around it, but the one that I actually do have experience playing was Agent Under Fire, and then there was like a spin-off GameCube game called GoldenEye Rogue Agents. Shout out to Jay Ferris.
I remember
where you weren't 007, you were maybe another 00 who had a eye that was golden. So it was like the literal version. And then all the villains were in it, but that was it. It was one. I think Bond was in it, but you're like you're a 00 agent that has this like a super eye, and wow. So I played that one more than I played the original one. But what a weird random rip-off game for the GameCube.
You know, it's been we haven't gotten a game in a lot of years. There is a game being developed right now.
Okay.
I'm just learning as we're recording this podcast.
No, that's true. Yeah, it was just announced. They just announced. I think the guy.
It's perfect because I'm having a kid. And this game is supposed to be coming out next year, so I'll probably be playing it while I'm up late feeding this.
Great for maternity leaves. Great for maternity leaves. That's a good one. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to Leasties and Besties. Let's start with the Leasties. We're going to start out here. The Treadstone Honorary Leastie for the least competent government employee. Shout out to Treadstone in our Borncast series. All right, a couple government employees. Boris, of course, who is invincible but did betray his country. We have Alec, who is 006, of course, betrayed his country, but he's also a government employee. The psychologist sent to evaluate Bond at the beginning, who falls for Bond after going in a very illegal high-speed chase with Xenia Onatop, and immediately just sleeps with Bond.
I had to check what movie I was watching when that scene came on.
Yeah, it's a very that's what kind of takes you out of the movie, and the music's a little weird in that one. It's like it's a little funky.
I think that's actually John Woo did accept the movie for one scene.
I thought it was gonna be MI2 all over again. I thought
it is so similar to MI2.
I thought, I literally was like, we are going to get parallel spinning cars like within moments, and then which would be great because there's a third person in.
There's just a random third person,
just screaming her head off.
Yes. Thought we were gonna get it, but eerily similar to MI2. Just a couple of years later. We also have the Russian general, who I didn't even name his name, who also betrays his country.
You couldn't pronounce it anyway. So.
That's true. And then Tanner, rough work day for Tanner. He essentially makes fun of the new boss behind her back in front of her. He doesn't even realize she's walking up behind him. Poor Tanner. He just looks always disheveled and just really like he had a long night.
The Russian in the bathroom stall.
Yes. Pretty rough to be taken down on the John.
How can you? Are you able to read a newspaper for that long while you're on duty at a government facility for that long?
I think you're just bored, man. I think you find ways to keep yourself busy.
Okay, just something confused me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but he was vulnerable. He was vulnerable on the John.
I always look up in the bathroom now when I.
Oh, okay. That's the lesson of this movie. Take away. Look up in the bathroom just in case a secret agent tries to jump down and attack you.
That's when they get you and they come to the toilet, Zach.
Oh, man.
Dang it.
Yeah, you can't do it. You can't do
classic. The classic look one way and go another. Yeah, man. Those spies always getting you.
Who's the least competent government employee out of these?
You go first, Zach.
Boris.
Why?
He's invincible, but he's also really bad at. He's a bad hacker. I mean, really, he has to make bad passwords for stuff. He's not a team player. He tries to hack something, gets caught, and then covers his tracks and then tries to hack it from a different direction. That happens in the opening sequence. He's like, oh no, but then does okay. He's also just takes too long, and he should use two hands on the keyboard when he is trying to control a Goldeneye satellite from crashing into the Earth. Instead, he does a one-handed, left-handed deal while using a pen in the other. I think that's kind
Yeah,
of
the pen thing is interesting because when I was a kid, that was super impressive.
Yes.
But watching it, I watched
Yeah.
this movie yesterday. Watching it yesterday, not impressive.
Not impressive. Not impressed because that was a big high school flex if you could spin your pen.
Here I am dropping it.
We're all trying to spin our pens here for those.
I'm doing it left-handed, it's
listening
not-
Oh,
to
I
this,
dropped
not
it
watching
again.
on
I
YouTube.
guess I take my.
It's
my
very
words.
impressive, but he
Very
should have spent
impressive.
more time hacking. And we'll get into Alan Cummings' performance, but yeah, Boris, also somebody who you could report to HR, I think. Very
So I
quickly.
think he's quite competent. He's just not good at his job.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say the psychologist sent to evaluate Bond, but I'm not sure she's a government employee. I think she might be like an outside contractor.
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Good
you're
point.
So I think she might be disqualified.
She's not, but she could be the MI5 in-house psychologist. But she feels like she's not, though.
Yeah, she definitely feels.
Is she Universal Exports HR maybe?
Maybe, yes. Just not that competent. That shell organization that is, or that dummy organization is like, it's very loosely put together, but a lot of those employees don't know that it's a cover organization.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Tanner here because he really does seem completely incompetent.
I'm gonna go Tanner. He's as well. He's rough, but I think Boris is definitely up there. And you know what? He was Vincible in the end.
He was Vincible.
He
Yes.
kind of reminded me
Yeah.
of Dennis Nedry.
Him and Nedry, I put that in my notes. Him and Nedry, a lot of similarities. Just the messiness of their workstation, and their overall energy. They would have been buddies. They would have been talking on the net.
Their
Yeah, it's-
avatars.
Yeah.
No.
Talking. Just no. They have their own avatars. You're right. Yeah, that's actually a good connection to make. This was the pinnacle of being good at computers, was Boris and Dennis back
Yes, exactly. This was the 90s. Let's have hacker characters, but we have no idea what the internet is and computers are. But we're going to just put characters. We're going to put renowned theater Broadway actors into these roles.
Just 1 year later, we get that in Mission Impossible 1, when Tom Cruise, Ethan Hunt is sending emails to Job at 316, whatever it is. Like, we don't know how email works.
Yes, we don't.
Even live chat, it was like literally like watching it type out, which is ridiculous because that definitely wasn't happening even in like basic. It would be.
It was a dark web server, Zach.
Okay. I didn't know the dark web worked like that. It was that.
And the
much
emojis,
faster.
like in having emojis, like
I know.
wow, that's a really realistic emojis. It's great.
Also, all in English.
Well,
right?
yes, it was, but it's a Bond movie. least likely spy move. So this is the spy move that seems the most ridiculous. All right, we have the plane jump in the cold open. Mike, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm excited about this one because as soon as the plane jump happened, me being an engineer, I just got intrigued, and so I graphed it out.
Oh my
so
goodness!
I'd like to walk,
Yes!
I'd like to walk you guys
For those
through
watching
this.
on YouTube, there's a full
This is
graph
so
that he's
good.
created.
So
What's our X and Y axes?
So we've got this plane here, right? And from what I understand from my research, is this is the Pilatus P6 Turbo Porter, okay, which is a real life plane with a weight of about 1,400 kilograms.
Oh,
okay,
so good, guys.
And hold on, let me adjust here so that I can see while I do this. So so we have the plane, we have its approximate mass. I'd also like to just say, hey, as a concept, we know gravity is 9.81 meters.
Yes,
per
of course,
second
Mike.
when
You don't
you're
have to.
flying.
I mean,
Okay.
that's for the listeners, not for
Okay.
me. Of course,
so,
I know that.
Thanks for
I
the
kind of
refresher, Mike.
diagrammed off. Okay, so like we've got Bond on a motorcycle, and let's just call his velocity v x in the horizontal in b Bond. So
Yes, of
so
course.
vxb is Bond's horizontal velocity, and we've got the plane here also, which is got its own horizontal velocity, and it's probably got a drop angle off of this cliff of about 60 degrees. So it's called theta.
Did you go up to to your TV and measure that angle?
No, I
Okay.
had to make some assumptions here. Okay, I don't have all the
That's all right.
information. So
That's
let's
right.
just call theta 60 here, and let's call that velocity of the plane. Let's call that the x and the horizontal and the vertical velocity here. We're
Let's
calling
do it.
that 60 meters per second. Okay,
Sounds
so the
good.
plane is falling at about 60 meters per second here. Okay, so here's the thing, right? In order for Bond to have done this properly, we're talking about a cliff that would need to be at least 300 to 320 meters tall, okay? Because, and this is crucial, okay? This is really important because this plane has unique characteristics, right? So it's going to need about 200 meters for Bond to be able to pull up without hitting the ground. Okay, so
right, that makes sense.
Seriously.
So in order for Bond to have caught up to the plane and gotten in at about 200 meters, he would have had to be falling for about 5 seconds, starting at about 320 meters. So if he's doing that and falling at where did I put it? About 70 meters per second, and the plane is falling at about 60 meters per second, he can definitely catch up. Absolutely. And we know, and I just want to say this isn't a bit here. He actually could catch up to this plane, okay? Because he is experiencing less drag and less lift than the plane is as it's free falling. So the catching up part, totally believe that. But he would have to be falling for about 5 seconds to catch up at about 200 meters. That's when he would actually need to start pulling up at about, and this plane would have to, it's pull up like a radius. I'm not an aeronautical engineer, guys. Okay, I don't know everything.
Yeah. Okay.
But some quick math and research would need to be he would need to be pulling up and at this point, and we're talking about 3.5 G's that he's taking at this time. So it's a lot. It's a lot. But he would be able to survive.
He is a secret, Mike. He is a secret agent, though.
He's a secret agent.
He has secret
really
agent G powers.
Really important. Okay, so I got another diagram down here. So we've got the plane falling and Bond falling, and this is where the catch up. Like he would have to there's a catch up here. And Zach, I wondered how I would get you to be able to understand this. So I did put down in reference here, a white dove's top speed is about 20 meters per second.
That is right.
So
that is correct. I didn't know the metric version of it, Mike, because I'm very
you think of
American-centric.
imperial units. Yeah, sure. A lot of people think of imperial units, but I think it's important because this was shot in Switzerland that we use metric units.
Yes,
Now
here's
the thing, right? So you might be thinking 320 meters. That's quite a bit. It is, but the real life dam that this was shot at is a dam in Switzerland, and that dam is 220 meters. And if you kind of think about like how the film is filmed, how this is filmed, right? Where the airstrip is, I gotta believe, is a lot taller than the dam. Like if you're just kind of looking at the scenes, like at the dam, there's not really any snow cap on the ground.
Right. So it's higher up.
Yeah, but then when they're like on the mountain or whatever, there's a lot more snow. It almost looks like a different place, if we're being honest, I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying.
Martin
so
Campbell?
I would say it's a stretch, but it could happen.
Yeah.
Plausible?
Is it even realistic that the plane would nosedive so well unmanned and unpiloted? Is that something that... That's something
These
I
are
have
great
to
questions.
Ask an aeronautical engineer
I don't
about.
know.
That'll be for the after show, the science show.
Yeah,
that I will not be participating in.
If you subscribe to the Patreon,
yes, we'll get a 4-hour science.
We'll hire someone enough.
Yes.
So, what's final conclusions though, Mike? What is our final line?
I don't think it's a least likely spy move. If you think about how likely it is, what are his options? Kind of seems like the most likely option in his position.
Yeah, because otherwise he would have exploded.
So I buy.
So it passes the test. It passes the test. Wow, thank you, Mike.
His margin of error is real slim, but
he could have done it.
If you repelled off of, I would have a air some type of backup if I was going to rappel down a dam, say like a parachute. So that also would have been helpful.
That would have helped if he would have brought an extra parachute just in case when he first.
I don't know what an extra parachute would have helped with, but
okay. I mean, it would have at least got him off that strip and away from the explosion. But that's all. That's all.
Wow, thank you, Mike. That was beautiful. We'll take a picture of that and we'll share it on our Patreon.
There's a reason why this is a video podcast.
Yes,
as well.
Please watch on video because you get these diagrams.
I'm sick of getting notifications on Instagram that Luke Ferris posted a video of me, and then I show up and it's just 35 seconds of Luke being self-indulgent and only him. So I'm really just hoping that this gets clipped, and now I get some.
You
some
get your
credit.
day in the sun.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to our podcast, the Caribbean clip, where we talk about them going under the water with the rowboat. That still is
I don't know what
getting
you're talking
hits.
Yeah, Mike, is it fair to assume that you didn't fall asleep during this movie too? I don't think.
Oh,
we've
we
done
totally
that
skipped.
check-in.
We
Yeah,
totally
I did
said
not.
them.
I did not.
Yes,
I
we might have to retire that segment.
Yeah, I can see the adrenaline from just making these drawings. As like, I know that you went up to the TV and measured that angle. I know
I
it
did
in
not.
my heart.
I didn't. Okay,
fair enough.
sure, yeah.
Okay, that would the adrenaline after doing so much computation. I wouldn't be able to sleep.
He was on fire. He it's like a cup of coffee into his soul. That's beautiful. Mike Wynne, shout out. We'll run through these least likely spy moves because it's obviously not plane jump. The Roger Moore karate chop homage when Bond knocks out on a top in the back of the car. The hacha, which is also in the video game. That is a Bond staple. The tank chase across St. Petersburg, just wow. Bringing your BMW from London to Cuba.
Well, hold on. He never had it in any other place, so they probably just put it on a container.
I guess, but
Supply chain.
to drive it 5 minutes down a strip of dirt and
Okay,
then to give it to the CIA.
Okay, but Luke, in Cuba at this time, the cars suck.
Okay.
We were talking 50s and 60s.
You're right.
The backstory of that is that BMW, that was a prototype,
bought it.
and they couldn't finish. They were rushing to finish it, so that they had to just include it in that scene. They weren't able to include it in the rest of the movie.
It's only the second most prestigious cameo that car has made in a movie, because it's in Accepted as well.
Wow,
Oh,
accepted.
dope.
Wow,
Who drives it?
I don't remember.
I love that movie. So
I was gonna say Zach loves that movie.
I love that movie so much. I'm gonna guess it's probably Justin Long's characters.
Yes,
I
on the
think
Accepted pod.
Because he gets
podcast
super rich
episode.
at the end, doesn't he?
They just get a college at the end.
Yeah.
Of it, so
So he gets super rich.
they get accredited. Yeah, maybe they get money.
Another least likely spy movie, just surviving that plane crash in the final sequence after getting shot down. That would have been tough. And then in the final sequence, there's a chain link blocking the bullets when Bond's climbing on that fence. And it's just
Even like the great
Spark Squid.
in Russia in the archives like that.
Yeah.
There's no way he doesn't get clipped. He's just asking for a bullet up the butt. Like
it is.
Yeah.
Bond does have the superpowers of deflecting bullets. And then last but not least is Alex surviving the fall. The fall off the railing. I don't think he would have survived that.
They just needed to do everything to Sean as
Sean
much
Bean,
as
they
possible.
needed a double kill for Sean Bean.
They triple kill him. They blow him up. He pretty
That's
much gets
true.
impaled by the end of the satellite dish, and he falls. Like
Sean Bean, notorious for dying in movies. In this movie, he essentially dies 3 times. So this might be peak Sean Bean deaths, but you could argue Game of Thrones is up there as well.
he dies for England, and that's how you have to die for England if you're gonna do it. Right?
For England.
All right, least likely spy move. What's the least likely? We debunked a lot of them.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Roger Moore
Probably the
karate chop.
I don't mind it because they cut away from the actual effect of it. It's just
Yes.
he pretty much in this in the take probably just hit the seat probably not actually anybody in that spot. I think the chain link blocking bullets was the most significant to me. Maybe it's just AK-47s though. It might just be that.
Only AK-47s so they can block it. They will not hit Bond.
Yeah.
Let's go with that one.
Yeah, I mean, plane jump was the one that I was going to come into this with, but I have been disproven.
You have been
shot
down.
educated.
You have been educated. Science rules. Science rules. Least favorite pun, probably on average 1 per minute. There were so many. I couldn't even write them all down. They were coming left and right. A couple of my least favorite puns. Things we do for frequent flyer miles after the helicopter is blown up and Bond and Natalia survive. I was frustrated because using your head was sitting right there because Bond uses his head to hit the ejector seat. It wasn't that the pun was bad. It was that there was a better, cheesier pun that was on the table and they didn't use it. So that's the one for me.
That's frustrating.
He was going to derail us. Pretty much everything Onatop says. And then a really bad one after Onatop dies. She always did enjoy a good squeeze. Oof.
That's probably all of the ones I wrote down were innuendos, but that's probably the one that is the best pun for me. The innuendos I wrote down are just pretty much about Bond be able to have Bond has a penis, and we just need to know that as much as possible.
As much as possible.
Yeah.
Any other puns that I missed? There's just so many.
There's so many.
There's too many.
I'm gonna say the frequent flyer miles because that was the most frustrating. Because using your head was right there. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
And that's a double. That could be a double innuendo for Bond, of course.
I'll stand by you on that one.
Yes. All right, let's move on to besties. Let's get positive.
Oh hell yeah.
The Nicolas Cage / Castor Troy honorary bestie for the best going for it acting choice. Of course, Alan Cumming we've already mentioned. I'm invincible. Speak to me. That's also what he says, shaking the computer at the end, which needs to be a meme of him just shaking the computer as the Goldeneye is exploding. The Canadian Admiral's death face. There's a lot of like pseudo orgasm death faces in this movie. It's a very kinky movie in that way, and that's saying something for a Bond movie. And as I mentioned, the Famke Johnson and Pierce Brosnan foreplay in the bathhouse. I mean, the faces that they're doing, they are going for it. It is a choice. It is a character choice, and they are going for it.
Does that pass? You were talking about Connery hitting women in the movies. Does that pass as something that would be acceptable, you think?
I think, and this movie, they're again, I mentioned that this is a transition movie. They're trying to start to do things. We'll talk about M coming up. Even Moneypenny, there's a little bit more pushback to Bond of like, you've never asked me out. You've never had me. And I think what they were trying to do is we're going to have a Bond villainess is going to be just as powerful, just as misogynist, just as creepy and crazy as Bond. So I think that's what they're trying to do. Is it's coming from a power versus power and less of a domineering Bond misogynist.
Yeah,
that's not. I mean, I understand. It's very easy to say like, yeah, they tried, but I think there is a change here. I even think Natalia as a character, she has a major plot point in this movie. She comes back, and the reason why she's in the movie is because she needs to stop the Goldeneye because she worked on it. And obviously they get together as a couple, but she is constantly ribbing Bond the entire time of saying, like, I'm not going in a moving vehicle with you. She's just very stern to Bond, even though they do have a flirtation. I really love the characterization. So overall, I think that what they're trying to do is kind of step into this modern 90s, a little bit more positive female characters, a little bit more awareness of who Bond is as a character, in-between. So I think that's where this comes from. That scene, they're going for it. Pierce Brosnan, now this is talked about in the James Bonding podcast. It's called hurt acting. Pierce, anytime he's feeling pain or strain, he really goes for it. It's kind of a trope that he has. Jordan Baker, yo Jimbo, just having fun, which I appreciate. And then Robbie Coltrane, great character. He returns for The World Is Not Enough, which he has more of a role in that movie in this character as a Russian crime lord. But just him saying, Irina, take a hike. I love that.
That is funny.
I think when we think about what this bestie is named after and the honorary award for the Nicolas Cage Castor Troy, I think we have to give it to Alan Cumming.
I agree.
Okay. I mean, mine was Famke because I think it's an over-the-top performance that works really well as the first official Bond villainess that's not just like a
sex symbol or something.
Yeah, sex symbol or something that's more of a betrayal piece. Like from the beginning, you know that she is is no good, like she is trouble, and that she is actually like a killer. Like she is going to.
She takes pleasure in killing.
Yeah, and then everybody in the movie is like, oh, is she okay? Like even like even
the general is
Oramov is whoa, like whoa. I think that's pretty like impressionable to me. My vote has to go for her because, again, just like the way she kills, the clear upfront, like there is a little bit of sexual tension there, but it's really like, oh, this person's bad news and we're not really here to mess around with her. Like there's a charisma there between her and Bond, but he's not really trying to get her into a hotel room. He's very much just trying to, he ran into this clearly troublesome person, and he just accidentally walks into this one, by running into her, which is pretty cool. And I think that kind of red flag that she represents and just the way that she acts it really is compelling to me. So I
agree, Zach. You got me, because the whole plot of this movie is he runs into her essentially, and they have a flirtation / like crazy off in the cars, and it continues on. So I'm gonna agree for Castor's face as the bestie for best going for it. All right, best gadget. We have the center console car fridge, the grenade pen, the grappling belt, and the Omega laser watch. Not too crazy of gadgets, but very like traditional gadgets.
Rocket launcher cast.
Yes. Okay. Yes, that one is included in the QHQ.
It's good.
Yeah.
That's a
what
great
about
one.
Okay, so then let me add one.
Okay.
If those are involved. The sandwich.
That's my lunch.
That's lunch.
One of my favorite lines in the movie.
Yeah.
Desmond, who's, again, this is his twilight of his career. He's not getting as many scenes. He's obviously aging, but just still can charm the socks.
He's struggling with his
film.
lines in this movie. You can see him reading cards.
Yeah, he's reading cards starting in this one, but some great scenes. I also shout out to the telephone booth that just like has an air mattress in it.
Is that in case you're trying to get out of the Matrix and Agent Smith runs through the phone booth before you can answer the phone? Okay.
Exactly. You got it.
All right.
So favorite pen for me. Oh, the pen. I love the pen. It's old school and it's highly effective, and it's in the finale of the film.
I'm going to derail us because I need to understand, why did Q think 3 clicks? Like, why 3 clicks? Because it's,
I don't know, rule of threes, I guess.
You have the pen and like extracted, then you detract it, then you extract it again. Like, what scenario are you clicking it?
Well, I think it's
it's
4 agents, so we have to think about the context. That's the whole mix-up. Is it's 4 agents.
Sure.
So it's the idea that like a layman person would just go this click, 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 click.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3 clicks it's out of the ordinary. So that's why they're doing it. It's for the agents, so they know it's 3 clicks. So that's why Bond is like, can you just do it? But Boris isn't going to do it, and that's why he's got to grab it and do the 3 clicks. That's it's a fail-safe, I guess.
Yeah, Boris is the one they didn't solve for. Like, that he was the variable that they didn't plan for with that. Okay, right. That makes sense. I was really trying to figure out, like, how to casually use it, but typically it would be, the industry use for it would actually just be to use it as a grenade, and the 3
and throw it. Yeah, right. Q didn't know that Boris had a really terrible blue Bic pen, and he was looking for an upgrade because the Russian government wasn't giving him quality pens.
Yeah.
That was his real motivation.
That's fair. Okay, thank you for resolving that. I was confused.
As a huge fan of the G2, the Pilot G2 pen, I do care about my pens. All right, let's move on to best vehicle. We're talking cars. We have the AMDB 5, which is the classic homage at the beginning. We have the Ferrari that Onatop has, and then we have the Russian blue car, which is a Fiat 500. Do we confirm that?
Yes.
Which is really fun. That's Jordan Baker's car. A little bit of humor there. And then the BMW that was very controversial, the first iteration of BMW in a Bond film, the first start of this partnership. What's your favorite vehicle out of all these?
It's the DB5.
Yeah.
At least for me, it's not even close.
Same here, but I do love the idea that we're in Russia. Here's a really crappy Soviet-era vehicle that Bond has to like look upon with disdain as the American tries to justify that he's driving around in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a Fiat, but those things are everywhere all over Europe. So,
Zach, what about you?
Am I gonna get hate for saying BMW? I think I'm
Yes.
gonna get hate. I feel like
From
the
Mike,
hate-
you will.
Yeah.
why? Give me your reasons.
I just like the color, Mike.
It's
That's
blue,
it.
Mike.
And it can shoot Stinger missiles out of the headlights. Stinger missiles.
But we didn't see it. That's the frustrating.
That was the bummer part. Yeah, he just gets driven away by hot swapped for a plane. That's really
See, I don't even think that this car, I don't think that this is a popular car. Looking back on, it's like I don't think it will be remembered very fondly as a BMW.
I think when we think about BMWs in the Bond franchise, I think in the next film, the remote control BMW, that's like, it's not a sexy BMW. It's more of a business BMW, but it's a remote control BMW. I think takes the cake.
I also drove one of those in high school to homecoming as a loan from my date's dad. So it's a special thing.
That's
I
pretty
think.
baller. Hey,
Yeah.
if you can get one notch closer to Pierce Brosnan as a high schooler,
It felt great. I lost my corsage, but it was great.
I bet you look great. I bet you
Thanks,
look
dude.
great.
Thanks, dude.
All right, we're moving on to the Nikki Parsons. I'm not staffed for this honorary bestie for best government employee. We have Natalia as a Russian employee / coder. We have M, and then we have Wade. All right, I'm going to jump in here because I think this is obviously M, but I want to shout out Natalia for really saving the world and surviving an attack. But I want to talk about Judi Dench. It was a big deal that she was cast in this movie. Martin Campbell even talked about how they wanted to play with the formula. They wanted it to change the gender roles of M. And Martin Campbell was talking to the producers, and he said, we needed somebody with gravitas, with screen presence that's a superstar. We need someone like Judi Dench. And they got Judi Dench. Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench, is one of the main reasons this modern version of the franchise, I think, has been successful. Her continuity, playing that intensity she brought to the character, but also kind of that cheekiness as well, is really the key relationship with Brosnan and Craig throughout all their movies. And it starts here in Goldeneye, where she is commanding authority from the get-go, puts Bond in his place. And for 7 more films, peaking in Skyfall, where we as an audience and through Bond really feel that deep emotion to this portrayal of M. And losing her in that film, spoiler alert, in Skyfall, is so emotional to both the audience and to the character of Bond, because those 2 decades of her constancy throughout the franchise, through highs and lows, through wins, through losses, it's her at the center of it. And she really ushered into the modern version of this franchise. So for me, Dame Judi Dench is the best M of all time. And not only is the best M, I think she kept this franchise alive into the modern era.
Yep.
Nothing to add.
Yeah, you just said it all, man. I mean, I was gonna be jokey about some of these, but you're right. Like, this is,
We can joke.
No. I mean, I think it's you said it all, and also in her opening scene, like, calls out Bond for who he is and who he has been, right? Like, I was just looking this up. Good, because she says to after their first initial meeting where they're sitting down and drinking bourbon. Good, because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur. She says this to Bond, a relic of the Cold War, whose boyish charms, though wasted on me, obviously appeal to that young woman I sent out to evaluate you. I guess she was hired by MI6. But I think that is a great precedent to set for what you see going forward. This is a changing of the eras. The old Connery, Bond, and that all those elements that she brings up, she recognizes and says, we're gonna check you on this going forward. Cold War's done. We're done doing this way. And I think that you are right on the ball with all that stuff, because she's survived her character survives 2 Bonds, and is the through line for all of that. And then when she does leave, it does feel, I mean, this isn't this movie, but does feel shaky after that. So yeah, it's a good M. she's the best M, I think, my personal opinion.
I agree. I think it's just so great also from a characterization that she's the numbers person, and they're kind of worried about her coming in and cutting things and relying on the analysts. And it's very much hey, this old boys club, shoot by the hip, which is true of Bond character. This is done. But also when Bond goes in her office and says, your predecessor had a glass of cognac, and she's like, I prefer bourbon. You know immediately that she's not messing around. But she also, in that scene, she's not in this movie a lot in Goldeneye. I was surprised rewatching it. She's not really in it that long, but every line, every moment that she has is so strong. And then when Bond leaves for the mission, she just says, try to come back alive, or try not to die. Yeah. And it's that little glimmer of twinkle in her eye where she truly loves what Bond can bring, even though she's not afraid to send him to die.
Is that why Anthony Hopkins was cast in MI2? Or is that maybe they were trying to recreate the magic there? I feel like so. It feels like the same kind of eye contact, that respect that we talk about in that previous episode between them. I feel that here, there's a apprehensive respect already set up in the repertoire, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think Anthony Hopkins could have been an M in this era, so it makes sense that MI2 would do that. All right, let's move on to best line and best scene. Best line, so many good ones. Ready to save the world again for England, James. Governments change, the lies stay the same. Bond, only Bond. Why can't you just be a good boy and die? A lot of these are Alex lines. One of my favorite ones that he goes after Bond. A small funeral service with only Moneypenny and a few restaurateurs in attendance, when he does the jab at Bond, which I love that there's a few restaurateurs going to James Bond's funeral. Concerning Bond, anytime he probably had off hours, he was dining at fine restaurants in London. Natalia says, do you destroy every vehicle you get into? The answer is yes. And then another Alec one. All the vodka martinis wipe the memory of all the men you've killed. Really great sequence there. I think every line that Sean Bean has really cuts to the core. Again, this movie's not afraid to go after the character. And then the final lines between 006 and 007. For England, James, no, for me.
We don't talk about Alec a lot so far, and I just want to recognize that he was a really strong character in this.
Yeah. One of my favorite villains by far.
And there's that, just a lot of emotion in the scenes, the back and forth scenes. Also, I didn't realize how much backstory they give to his family and why he
being
has revenge.
Cossack or Cossack, it's all that heritage in British history, which as American audiences, we don't know a lot of that history in European history, but it could be more complex, but they kind of keep it simple. It's very much revenge.
It's still more complex than some two-dimensional characters from other, more secret villain stuff. And there's
it's just
revenge piece to this that is a little bit more inherent than he let me die, because I always thought it was he let me die and
I'm getting back at him,
but there was always this through line that I couldn't Google while I was watching it in the 90s.
Yes.
So I think that's really cool to have that motivation for that character, beyond just also just the part of it where he does reveal himself to be that man in the shadows. So yeah, I'd say for England, James is
yes,
what I walk away with this movie.
I agree. For England, James is the line that sticks out to me. It's so simple, and when it's like when you write something, whoever wrote that, when they wrote it, they were like, no, that's perfect.
It is.
That is. Those three words are memorable.
Yeah. It's a really well-written movie. I felt like it was tight and the dialogue's great. And obviously Alec and Bond are really the central dialogue points to this movie. And I wish, honestly, we had a little bit more of them. I would have loved a 45-minute prologue of them really becoming close, seeing them as close friends. Yeah. I think that's something that, not to bring in the Star Wars prequels, but I think when we think of the Revenge of the Sith, we
Could be
we,
an Obi-Wan Anakin.
Well,
thing.
we come in and we're supposed to think they're already best friends and they have also rapport and all these adventures, but we don't get to see them as an audience until the animated show. And same here, we see it in the acting; they do a good job, but I wish we had a little bit more to really.
It's
build
likely that like, I think, how do I want to like say this? Like, this is like really subtle, and it would be lost on just about every single audience member. But the fact that they know each other's first names is actually really illustrative of how close they are.
That's a great point.
That's good.
They like ordinarily would not be permitted to really even know each other's first names, and so it kind of it's really subtle, but like it kind of points to how often they run into each other or how often they were tasked together in a mission. How many hours in the field that they actually spent together, that they actually know each other's names.
That's a great point. And typically throughout the franchise, a character doesn't say James unless they are typically the romantic interest, saying, "Oh, James." So it's actually a really fun way to deploy that, where it's a former friend and villain who's saying James, not just saying Mr. Bond or 007.
What's the alias that he gives sometimes too? He's got an alias.
It's a universal export alias.
Yeah, I know, but it's
sure.
always it's like terrible.
Carter or
he gives
something like
the
that.
same alias every single time. It's like I think they figured that out.
All right, let's move on to best scene and wrap it up. I'm gonna throw a couple out here. The cold open in general, it's one of my most favorite cold opens because we get the whole betrayal. Well, we don't know it's a betrayal, but we essentially get that whole action sequence we talked about, the plane sequence, but we also get Alec dying and Bond escaping, and it sets up this whole tension of the movie. We already mentioned it, Bond and M's first confrontation in the office. It's just fantastic. The Soviet graveyard, the Stalin graveyard with the Alec reveal coming out of the shadows and the scars. The escape tank chase sequence / train face off, just really fun, where they're escaping from the Russian jail, St. Petersburg tank chase into the train, and then the satellite attack climax. Any other scenes I missed, or what one stands out to you guys?
I do want to put an honorable mention in here. The Q gadget rundown is good because there's so much action in foreground and background throughout, and it ends on a pretty poignant end there. So I
with
do
the
have
sandwich
to put that
joke.
in
Yeah, it is a
submission.
perfectly rehearsed, almost pound for pound perfect Q scene. It's exactly what you want as a fan.
It's very Monty Python, that whole
it is scene. Which is why they brought in a Monty Python cast member
later on,
which was it was the right idea. It was the right idea. Bringing in John Cleese was the right idea. Just maybe the timing wasn't perfect.
My favorite scenes are the cold open and the satellite climax at the end.
Yeah,
those are the two most memorable scenes for me. I think the cold open is most memorable because I think I died on that mission in the video game about 4 million times.
So hard.
So I, as like an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old trying to figure out that video game, and you just don't have motor skills. It's that's the scene that's most memorable to me.
The hardest part was I didn't figure out. I spent 3 hours the first time playing it, just going back and forth on the level, taking out everybody, because I didn't realize I hadn't watched the movie yet, so hadn't remembered the movie part, so I didn't jump off of the dam. That was how you end the level.
Oh, it's actually that level. You don't know. It's not telling you.
Don't know. There's no dialogue scenes.
There's no Reddit you could look up. You just had to figure it out or find lore at the lunch table. That was the only way.
That's true, because I don't think I owned this game at first. I would just rent it from the video store a ton.
Yeah.
And so the only time, because I never had a save,
yes, huge problem.
I would just replay that that scene over and over again. And yeah, Zach, you're so right. Just getting caught on the dam, you're like, wait, this is the whole game?
So lame. Is it just the at Target, the demo? Is that what I got?
Wow, deep cut.
Right.
It used to be to play the demo games at
the
retailers.
end of the aisle,
Software, etc. GameStop, good times.
Yeah.
A lot of good scenes. Mine is the Bond and M's first meeting in her office. That's
Of
still
course,
one of my
Luke
favorite scenes.
chooses the scene that has the absolute most exposition of the entire
Yeah.
movie. I mean, come on.
They're just drinking whiskey and sitting
Two
in
British
chairs.
people, two British
guy wrote-
espionage people.
This guy
sitting
wrote
in
a
the office.
This guy wrote a Jurassic Park sequel that was literally just dialogue.
Yes, in the
There wasn't a
Jurassic
single
draft.
dinosaur in the whole movie.
In our Jurassic Park draft episode, yes, it was essentially a walk and talk Alan Sorkin movie starring Ian Malcolm. Hey,
I do love that.
it's Least Important Things. If you're new to the show, this is it. Welcome. Welcome. We're glad to have you. All right, friends, let's move on to ratings, meanings, and what's next. What did you rate this on Letterboxd? And please say your Letterboxd handle. Mike, I believe it's Mike J. Wynne.
Yeah, it's either MIWY.
Yes.
I'll
I'll get these right one day.
Okay. Anyway, again, very harsh on Letterboxd. I am.
Yes, he is very tough.
So emotionally, I would have given this like a 4 or 4.5, but on Letterboxd, I give this a 3.5.
What was your one-word review?
Oh, I didn't leave one. I gotta go.
Oh
back.
my goodness, go edit that. So listeners and viewers, please go check out Mike's
Yeah, it'll be a
one-word
Letterboxd
review.
exclusive. It won't be a podcast.
Yes, so please follow Mike to learn more. Zach, what did you rate this movie, and what is your handle?
My handle is Zach Hall, on all one word, just one H between
That's
Zach
right.
and Hall. ZACHALL. As if it was just one full first name.
Just
Zach flowing. I showed that to someone who just got on Letterboxd this weekend, and
Welcome.
they were like, "Oh, this makes sense. This is what I've been calling you for 20 years." So I gave it 4 stars because it's just too good of a movie to underrate, I think.
Agreed.
So I think that perfect action. They drive a tank in Russia. You can't under
And he adjusts his tie in the tank.
Yeah, and he's just good at it somehow, and he just makes new roads. I love that. So I think that in general, it's just a really great movie, fun time, and just a actually compelling story, especially when we were able to deep dive and kind of read into it a little bit more. So 4 stars for me.
At Luke H. Forrest, At Luke H. Ferris, 4 stars for me. One of my favorite Bond movies, and I think one of the best action movies of the 90s. So highly, highly rate Goldeneye. It gets better.
Category.
Every year I watch this movie, it gets better and better. It's still really strong on the rewatch 30 years later. All right, gentlemen, what does this movie mean to you? Let's start with Mike.
This movie means like this is to me the activator to my James Bond fandom. So like, this is the first movie I was really exposed to. It means a lot to me. I was very excited to rewatch this. It's one of the movies I rewatch pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
I will skip a lot of movies in this franchise because I don't think that they're good, but this one I think is worth watching every time.
Zach, what does Goldeneye, this movie, mean to you?
Yeah, I think so much of what I rate and enjoy is rooted in nostalgia, but it's good to talk to you guys to prove that this actually is a good Bond movie. And I think it's really good to have that confirmation because this is a great ride. You go across the entire world. There's a awesome group of dynamics of characters that are really old school Bond originality and cartoon elements to it, but also you're getting launched into a new age of Bond for the 90s and the 2000s with Craig. So I think this is a really great launching point for anybody who might need to be introduced. Mike, I know you're having a kid soon. I hope that you consider this as a way to start.
Yeah, when they're 3. Yeah.
Yeah, when they're
Start 'em
3
young.
is not a bad idea. Get Xenia's moan in their head
The
while they're
moan,
young.
they won't know what the moan is.
But yeah, so I think in general, even if you are not a huge Bond fan, this is a movie that you would want to watch or should.
Agreed. This is one of the Bond movies that I would be okay showing to somebody who's never watched Bond before. That's for sure. I also think Goldeneye is a crucial transition film from the old Hollywood to the new Hollywood. It still keeps all the same tropes and filming techniques used throughout the franchise's history while prodding at the archaic morality of the character with a fresh modern approach. And it's really no wonder that Martin Campbell, the director, returned for Casino Royale to continue the work of the character that he really established in this movie. Sean Bean, thankless servant to cinema and pop culture. Pierce Brosnan, again, he is the 90s kids Bond. He was really important to my love of this franchise, and every time I watch this movie, it's short, it's fast, it's exciting, and it gives everything you want in a Bond movie and more. And it's fun to rewatch it with friends. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Zach, my 001 and 002. What's next? Mike and Zach will return next week for our inaugural Least Important Things Alien Monsters bracket.
I'm super
Until
excited
then,
for that.
yes.
I'm super excited.
Yes. It is going to be a face-off of brackets of aliens. See what I did there? Wordplay of all the episodes in the season so far. All right, friends. Until then, talk to you soon.